Hello, my friends. Drak here. And I know that this video is horribly overdue, but, well, everything's been overdue this week. Everything has been late, and I apologize for that, and I promise that we're going to get back to a regular schedule. I'm just multitasking way too much right now, and we're getting ready for things like Bonsai next week, so that's just been the kind of the way things have been going. But I still wanted to be able to give you guys at least a vlog for Luke Cage. So here I am, and we're going to be talking about episodes 2 and 3. So people can watch my first vlog and know that I did like how things were set up. And it set up the characters very, very well. And the next two episodes are, again, no exception to that, as we kind of get a resolution to the case that we were dealing with in episode 1, but we also get a brand new motivator for Cage to step out of the shadows, so to speak, and start helping people. And that motivator, unfortunately, and here's the spoiler warning, people, if you haven't watched these episodes and want to, now's the time to turn it off until you have. They had that motivator until Pops basically urges Luke to help him find Chico, so that they can in some way parlay him to Cottonmouth in order to reestablish peace in the neighborhood. As we kind of get an establishing of why Pops is Switzerland in this whole gang war deal, why his business has never been touched, and it's actually because Pops actually has a history with Cottonmouth, as well as Chico's father, where they actually used to run in a gang or a crew together to be able to hustle the neighborhood. Now that's behind him. He went to jail. He spent 10 years there. He has a son that he doesn't know about. And that basically turned his life around to be able to run Pop's barbershop, for lack of a better term. I don't know if it was actually called Hair Salon. I think it was Pop's barbershop. And so they established that history and that he is kind of a good go-between for Cottonmouth, because Cottonmouth won't ever do anything with it. Will never do anything against him. Since he's always had his back. It's unfortunate that his crew didn't have the exact same thing in mind, as a young up-and-comer in his organization wanted to prove himself and decided to shoot up Pop's barbershop, thus taking Switzerland and putting it into the war, or at least leaving it a crater. Luke, at that point, so Luke was there, and he actually shielded a kid from dying, as he saw the guns come out, and he knew that his power would keep him safe. But from there on, Luke is pissed off because Pops was brought into a war that he didn't ask for. And so Luke basically has had enough and starts taking the fight to Cottonmouth. There are a couple of ways that he does this. First of all, he quits his job with Cottonmouth. And then on top of that, he also starts looking up all of... I'm trying to think of a best way to put it, like all of Cottonmouth's safe houses for his money, and starts hitting them. Through that, he is actually able to piss off Cottonmouth to a great extent. But the funniest part is that he only, like, we think that he's going to take down the operation. No, he actually takes a little bit of it and keeps it for trying to keep Pop's barbershop open in the meantime. So it's interesting with Luke in the fact that, or at least with the, I can't vouch for the comics because, as I said, I have a limited knowledge of Luke Cage. I have Avengers knowledge of him. I have whatever animated series he's been able to show up in, and that's about it. Like, I'm not a dedicated reader of any of the comics that he's dedicatedly been in. So I know that he has unbreakable skin. I know that creates a lot of problems, but aside from that, like his backstory, I don't know a whole lot of. And so, in this case, I would actually trust the TV series and what they're trying to tell me. And the fact that he does these things the way that he does them, but he's also very noble about it too. So he takes the brunt of an attack on Cottonmouth, one of Cottonmouth's safe houses, and numerous others, also that he can keep Pop's barbershop open, so that the neighborhood can still have that Switzerland for the kids. They don't have to go out into the streets. And at the same time also pay off all of the debts that he's had with where he's living currently. So there's always kind of a noble action in between all of the crap that he has to do in the meantime. At that point also, Cottonmouth then learns who Luke is and what he can do, And episode 3 literally ends with Cottonmouth firing a rocket launcher into the Chinese restaurant that he's working at, or that he lives at. So that's quite an escalation. We went from handguns to assault rifles to a rocket launcher, which is fine. I also have a feeling that we're going to be hearing more about Diamondback, but we don't really hear too much. All we know is that the deal that Cottonmouth was trying to work out with the Dominicans was facilitated by Diamondback. That's how he got the weapons. So that's kind of establishing why Shades is here. And we get further character development with Luke, with Cottonmouth and his cousin. We find out she's his cousin, the politician. And we also get some, like I said, character story with Pops, character development with the 2 police investigators, one of which Luke actually met in the first episode, and the other one just so happens to be working for Cottonmouth. And frankly, I could have told you that. The way that he looked, I'm like, you are in somebody's pocket, I just don't know who yet. And it turns out it was Cottonmouth. I actually kind of wonder, there was a scene between him and Chico. He actually kills Chico to aid Cottonmouth in that regard. And the whole scene, I'm just like, wait, a cop going without his partner, that's not a good sign. And things just kind of set things up where I'm like, just kill him. Just put a bullet in him. I know you're going to, and then you're going to go report to some organization. I was dead set on him working for Diamondback, and no, he's actually working for Cottonmouth. So that was an interesting concept. We also got to have a little bit more Cottonmouth development in the fact that Luke cares very deeply about Pops because he's part of the Crossfire. Or he was part of the Crossfire. In fact, there's a little bit of a theory now that I'm speculating is that a bullet hadn't hit him yet until Luke went to protect the kid. And then it actually looks like a ricochet went off and hit Pops. So now Luke has this whole deal where he feels like he's responsible for Pop's death. And they actually have him go to the funeral home to start setting up those arrangements, even though he's dirt poor and really can't manage to make it work. But Cottonmouth just so happens to come down to the funeral home and says, that's okay, he's going to get the best funeral, and I never wanted for this to happen, and somebody actually took the initiative, and it wasn't me. But we'll make sure that Pops gets the best care when it comes to his funeral. So we have that a little bit of a development where they try to make you empathize with him, but at the same time, he is still as dirty as ever. In fact, I like the fact that he is so pissed off that he's actually the one that fires the rocket launcher at the restaurant. So things are getting better. Things are having a nice escalation into the next few episodes, which I already read the synopsis for. One of them is going to be dealing with Luke's background, which I would really like to know, especially how they're setting it up in this series. I did also like one particular line where one of the thieves that works for Cottonmouth basically says, screw you guys. Screw Harlem. I'm going to go to Hell's Kitchen where it's safer. Considering the fact that, the first 2 seasons of Daredevil and Jessica Jones were there, and they were war zones. So I found it interesting. He's like, I'm going to go to Hell's Kitchen. It's much safer. Really? And we have more establishing of kind of the internal universe that Avengers is there and that S.H.I.E.L.D. is out there. We even have this dirty detective kind of use the example of it doesn't even matter that we're cops anymore, because unless this gun turns into a magic hammer, there's nothing we can do, kind of thing. And while that's sad, it is kind of a true aspect in the Marvel universe, is like, what's the need for police when you have superheroes? And so at that point, we get to see these 2 detectives actually have that out. Like, they're still vigilantes. They're not following the same training or the same guidance of the law that we are. And basically him saying, well, what are we going to do to stop them? And that's a very good question. Like, what do you do when Captain America comes in and he's not following the rules? It is something very interesting to consider, especially in this universe where New York has been a war zone a couple of times now. And the funniest thing is, I almost expected the other detective to mention the Sokovia Accords, and that didn't happen. So that was interesting to me, because at this point in the timeline, the Sokovia Accords should be in effect. So at that point, it's like, well, they have to register anyway, so we need to be able to have that information. So that's roughly where things are at. I know that there are some details that I've left out, but really I'm kind of trying to go into these episodes as where they're going into the plot as a whole. We have a lot of nice plot details in between that establish characters as being either good or bad guys. I especially love how they're trying to establish these gangsters, or these two cousins, Cottonmouth and the politician, where there's like, well, we're both cousins, and we're both related to this other mob boss named Ma Mabel, I think is what her name was. They established her as like either a dirty politician or like a mob, or a politician with mob connections, or a politician that's a mob boss by night. And the fact that they have two ideologies, where Cottonmouth literally looks at it and goes, there's no reason to go for politics and respect. All that matters is money. And then you have the female politician who's just saying, no, money is not what matters. Respect is what matters. And so you have those warring ideologies. I would not be surprised by the end of the series if they are warring against each other. And then you also have Luke, who's basically, as he was in Jessica Jones, as he was in the first episode, battling with the fact that he just wants to be left alone. He just wants to live his life, and it's not working out for him. Because everywhere he goes, he's, through his abilities, kind of forced to step up, and he doesn't really want to. In fact, that's one of the things that I really liked, is that he keeps Pops' swear jar as kind of a reminder that he needs to move forward, which were the last words that Pops ever said to him. But overall, this is really working out to be a good series, and I'm still recommending it. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this vlog. I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy Luke Cage like I am. Obviously, if you've seen a little bit further, don't spoil it for me, because I'm working my way through. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next video.